like you actually don't need to work in a economy of value. You just have to have a value system. In essence, like you can imagine a situation where everything before anyone existed was already in place, and we're filling in roles in such a way where like that's done for me, that's done for me, that's done for me. I got all this free time. Like we still have all this value in our system. It's going places. It's going to us now, or it's going to one person, whoever created it, kind of shit. But if we all just jumped in the system free, this would be a ton of value to spread around. We wouldn't have to work much in that world that our parents built for us. We just have to maintain it. But if we already had robots that were maintaining it for us as well, eventually we don't have to fucking work, and we still have all this value. That value has to go somewhere.
At a
The value
population
basically
of
goes to
11
property.
billion, like he suggested.
Eventually people can't work for things. Eventually it's not going to work because like your job will be much better suited by an artificial intelligence. If you ask me to solve a problem, there will be a robot that can do it better. If you want me to write a poem, eventually there's going to be a
You
robot
do see
that.
the problem with that, right?
No, I don't. I see that as a really, really good thing. I see that as an extremely good thing.
Okay, so there's okay, overpopulation, which is 7 billion, is considered in the video, right? A good portion of the area or landmass has been reduced because of rising sea levels, right? Then you have to take into consideration what?
Well, I wrote this shit down. The lowest islands will reduce in 75%. The lowest islands will reduce by 75%. I looked it up. I don't have it up anymore.
We're not talking about islands. We're talking about coastal cities
I
where
know, but where it said coastal states would be impacted, it said that, but it didn't say what percentage. And you're saying a large percentage of the coastlines will be gone, and that's not true.
you do understand majority of humans build their cities near waterways, right?
Waterworks, yeah.
Waterways.
Water.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We also build inward and like have been for several thousand. Well,
Yes,
we
but
build
that
inward.
doesn't mean anything. If majority of our cities are on coastal lines or whatever, that means they're
No,
going to be a
no, evacuation, dude. Like if people are gonna die and lose a lot of like
Volden,
cows and
Volden,
shit.
Volden. You just said something that is key factor in disasters. Okay, you're
Yeah,
saying we'll just pack up and move, Volden.
yeah.
Move where? That means you're gonna be taking over more landmass and building more place in more places, right? That means reducing the environment yet again to accommodate humans, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that a yes or no? I didn't hear you.
No, that's you're saying a thing that's incorrect. We have plenty of land without environmentally impacting it negatively that we can achieve by going inland. I live in Pooler. I live in a coastal town. I live about 20 to 30 miles from the coast. I used to live about 5 miles from the coast, and I moved inland. In fact, the majority of people that live where I used to live are moving inland for exactly that reason, in addition to the fact that it's just getting old. People have been there for too long. The houses aren't as good. There's not as much to do there. People are moving inland because it's old there. That's where they started. And they're going away from that. Like I live now, what will eventually be coastline.
Okay, so you do understand that the majority of our land that we use is for agriculture and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but that's even changing. So
Okay.
like okay, fair. That's true. We're changing that. So like
Okay.
what your
So
argument is that we're not going to be able to change the land mass required for agriculture into one for people, which we could do, and
no,
plenty.
no, I'm trying to point out mass migration is going to be a massive issue if that were to be the case. And then to
You're right. It's going to be a massive issue, but it's going to be one that we have to resolve and that we will resolve. It might not be perfect, but we will resolve it. When Katrina happened, all those people were displaced. I was living in Missouri when that happened, and I remember there being neighbors that were like bringing people in and letting them live there, and they ended up just staying there because they didn't have homes to go to. Like people move and start over, or they come back and start over. Like either way, they figure it out. Sometimes we
Okay,
do it better. And every time
let
I would
let,
argue
let
we do it
okay, go
better. Every
ahead.
time. Every time we come to a catastrophic event like that, we succeed in some areas and fail in others. And the ones that we fail in, we're like, oh, okay, well, how can we do that better? And then we create science and technology and products and methods to make that actually achievable. So the next time it happens, we are prepared. And less people die, and less people have, and more people are benefited from that discovery. That's like, again, progression. Like, it goes back to progression. We are progressing as a species in every aspect of our environment and society. That's not changing. It is change.
I don't know what you are. Are you an optimistic or something of that sort?
Fired optimists. I like it's gonna happen. These things are
No one's
happening.
not okay. Look, no one's saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying at a cost that may be too much.
You're saying, so you're labeling it this cost, okay? So let's say the cost is 90% of human life. By 2090, 90% of human life is going to die, and that's the cost of making it go. That what you're really saying to me, this is how I'm hearing it, just so you are aware of what you sound like. You're
Hmm.
saying that you've given up the requirement of like trying to make it not 90% and just agreed before it happens that it's going to be 90%. And then like because that's the case, like all of you people that like don't agree with me at this present moment, which isn't that many by the way, are stupid because of it. Like what you're really saying is I don't know how to solve this and I think it's going to be horrible. And I'm telling you that if we had to like wait on you to figure it out, we would be doomed. But luckily, we don't have to wait on you to figure it out. Like other people, including myself, have already figured this shit out and are waiting to have the means to
What?
do it.
Okay, if you okay, you have the galls to say that you have a solution. I would like to hear it, please.
Describe multiple solutions.
I would love to hear those solution, please.
I just described multiple. Our conversation consisted of a lot of them.
No, not really. Your solutions involved a huge amount of time and progression in some shape or form. I did not hear a single solution that could actually be beneficial.
I was describing solutions that are already in place and working and already on
But
their
that's
like.
but that's not a solution that you came up with. You're saying that these things are in place and are working, and I'm like, okay, those
Yeah,
those
solutions.
so-called solutions you have
Yeah.
are band-aid attempts and
No,
they take
you're
too
saying
long.
you're labeling them band-aids, and I'm
Yeah.
telling you that they're a fucking triage being wrapped around it, and we're currently wrapping it. You're saying like we're bleeding out as we're saving the victim, and like I should stop. Like what are you saying exactly? Are you saying that I'm not triaging? I am triaging. I'm not going to be able to save them. I am going to be able to save them. Like what are you keep jumping all over the place, dude.
I'm not. I'm I'm
You
I'm
really
I'm
are. You
pointing
really
out
are.
specific things. Okay, let's say the ideas that you've presented, which I didn't really see much of. I would like to hear your solution because you made the statement that I have no solution, or if we had to wait on my solutions,
I didn't
we would all
say a
die.
solution. I didn't say a solution. I said I know of solutions to
Okay,
prevent
okay, so give
environmental
me
impact.
solutions. Give me solutions. Any solution. Give me five solutions that you've got.
Yeah, okay, fine. We can continue progressing in here in the states and disallow for the creation and production of gas guzzling engines, carbon what are they called? Combustible engines. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. We're already starting that process.
Mm-hmm.
We can increase the sale of solar panels in locations that can benefit from that. And if we had more infrastructures that segmented their energy consumption from something like the sun, that would reduce carbon footprints immediately as well. We can invest in technologies that increase battery production without requirements of like specific minerals that are killing our planet, which we're doing. We already created one, by the way. We're just trying to figure out how to make it in mass, which we're also doing. I mean, batteries, fixing batteries. We can fix engines. We can regulate the shit out of things like we are doing again to make it very difficult for people to produce energy consuming devices that are like poor for the planet. We can stimulate the economy by like making it lucratively beneficial for people to make products that are better for the environment, which we're doing. Like all of these things are already in effect in the states, and we're behind. You guys have already, you in particular, live in a country that has already solved these issues and are benefiting from it. There are other countries that are in various levels on this track as well, and then there are countries that are even further behind than the U.S. Luckily, the ones that have the most impact on that issue are the ones that are making the biggest steps towards resolving it. Luckily, like we're doing these things. It's happening. I don't
But
see how
okay,
like these are
so
solutions.
I I feel like our idea of
Need to step
solutions
into the
are
technologies
very
that we can create and are creating to make it easier and better to consume and use energy again without fucking up the planet. Tons of technology. There's tons. There's tons. I can buy something on Amazon right now that I throw it into the ocean, and it's just a little casting reel, has a little turbine on it that stores power. The light leads it up the lead line and charges my phone. I could also make it. I could, and that thing, if made properly, instead of out of the shitty parts that you buy off of Amazon, you can make it really, really well. Put it in the ocean, maintained every year or so with very minimalistic parts and requirements to do so, and it would create more energy and then be carbon in itself. The carbon needed to make the thing is there. It's not going anywhere. It's not in the atmosphere. It's not being recycled. This thing is living there. It's no longer plastic in a landfill. It's a thing living there, consuming, like creating energy for us at all times, being an upscaler for our energy consumption, and no longer it's a negative carbon footprint, dude. We're doing this shit. It's all over the place. It's it's so vastly like part of our existence at this point that like it's synonymous with human ingenuity at this point. Is like, you want to build a product, how can I do it without fucking up the planet, is one of the first things we ask. Seriously. Like I don't see how that's like not a good enough solution. I don't see how that's not a solution, if not like multiple solutions for the problem that we all agree with needs to have a fix to it.
uh, yeah, no. So yet again, you let's go with the whole car thing, right? The prevention of making new combustible engines and all that kind of stuff, right? That doesn't solve the problem that we already have billion plus vehicles that are already combustibles and all that kind of shit on the planet,
Yes,
right?
it
So
does.
let's
Yes, it
say
does.
let's say that the
It
the
does.
the the exchange rate, right? Now, we will tie the exchange rate in the sense of changing out the vehicle for something that's more efficient, right? Let's say with the idea of your battery thing. Now, let's say the improvement to batteries is a thing. Now, in reality, they would just build a new car and not take in an old car that's a combustible engine and trade it out for a battery run vehicle, right?
Yeah.
They would just build a new car, which
Mhm.
adds to the problem, and then
No,
you
it doesn't.
also still have the issue of combustible
No,
engines.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it
What,
doesn't.
Volden? Do
Think
you
about this.
understand
Okay.
how
Okay.
stuff
Think about it.
ma-
Think
Okay.
about it. Right now. Right now. Let's say there's one person. Fuck that. We're not gonna do that. Let's say everyone owns a car that's a combustible engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they just turn it off, right? They no longer use it, and every single one of them is given an electrical car. Now we have two cars in the world, right? You're saying that there's two cars, and what we're going to do with the other cars are going to it's going to be bad for the environment somehow. It's not, because those cars are now sitting in a landfill, recycled, going somewhere. The carbon required to make those things is going back into the soil. It's being reduced into it's not going into the atmosphere. We're not burning this shit. It's not happening. What's great about it is those cars are no longer running gasoline. It's an immediately positive impact on the planet to keep
Volden.
everything that's bad while it's running.
Okay.
Just turn it off.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
If you just
So
turn it off, we already fix it.
it's
It
not a
doesn't have
thing.
to go
This
anywhere.
idea in your head is not a thing, Volden. I'm trying to explain to you. The the requirements to mine, refine, produce all those things to create the battery has a negative effect on the environment. Then the manufacturing of a brand new vehicle to contain those so-called new technologies is also a burden on the environment because it produces a massive amount of pollution, right? Now, not only do you have that to deal with, you
You
also
have
have
no idea what you're talking about. At
what?
this point, I'm sorry, I have to stop you because with car manufacturing, you're not accurate.
What?
Right now, if you stop from now until the end of the year, from now until a year from now, there will be X amount of cars produced. That is true. That is going to happen. It will happen. If
Huh?
those were replaced with the same processing that is required to make electrical cars, it would be less of an environmental impact already because it takes less energy and environmental impact to make an electrical car than it does a combustible engine car. So we're already, if we replaced all the cars we're going to make combustible with electrical, it's already a better thing. Now we have all these electrical cars that are just been made that were going to be made anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and they're electric instead of combustible, and they're no longer combusting and causing an environmental impact. It's not a dude.
I
You're
okay,
suggesting that what are you suggesting that we shouldn't
Volden, Volden.
trade up our cars because
No,
it's a
you
bad
see
thing
this
for the
this is
environment?
why
It's
you
not. You're
Volden,
wrong. You're
Volden,
wrong.
Volden, you cut me off before I even had a chance to finish. Volden,
I'm sorry.
the mere fact that I was explaining to you the procedures to make this vehicle produces a huge amount of pollution for the environment. We're not talking about it as a long-term thing. So, yet again, let's say you're producing these cars and the minerals required to make these batteries are
Mhm,
rare and all that kind of stuff. We're saying after the production of these vehicles, let's say for your year example, right,
mhm.
has produced a huge amount of pollution to create these cars. No more combustible engines are being produced and just electric cars, right? This is your statement? All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Volden, I don't know in what goddamn fucking world you live in. Do you think
Mhm.
people are just going to be able to switch over from an combustible engine to an electric engine just like that?
You don't have to. You don't
Pardon?
have. You're looking at this as like an overnight thing. It's not. One person gets an
You're
electric.
the one who made it seem like it was an overnight thing.
No, I was suggesting that so that you get what this is going to happen over a long period of time because
And this
that's
is
how
what I'm trying to get through your head. Your idea of fixing issues is a long period of time.
don't
When
dude. I'm segmenting it into one period of time. Okay, so let's say in the next 20 years, because of regulations, and this is true by the way, in 20 years we're no longer building combustible engines because we're not allowed to. That's true. That's true in the States. We're not going to be allowed to build combustible engines past a certain year. What I'm saying is that when we build a car, if we build it as an electrical car instead of a combustible engine car, it's less of a environmental impact just from manufacturing it. So so a company like yours in Canada that switched from combustible engine to an electrical engine, their now carbon footprint is now smaller just by detail, like by default. And then now that they're giving these electrical cars out and selling them, the people that would have bought combustible engine cars are now buying electrical engine cars because that's what's available and for sale and cheaper and more beneficial. It's happening. Like
Electric
people
cars
will
aren't
eventually
cheaper.
not have the ability to buy combustible engines. Like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's a better situation for our planet to make the same amount of cars, but them just to be electric cars instead of combustible engines. Nothing else has to change in our production process except for that, and we would already like reduce our carbon footprint by 75% or more over the length of the time it would take to they were combustible engines instead. Like these individuals are then no longer combusting their engines over long periods of time. It happens. It's going to happen. It's already happened. I don't know why we don't see
I
it.
think you're missing the point where I'm saying like the trade in, like people aren't just gonna trade in for something that's way more expensive.
They won't have to, dude. They won't have to. Like you go to the store and like you want to buy some milk and they're out of 2%. And that's what you're used to buying. You're gonna buy the whole milk if that's what's available. It's the same thing with fucking cars. Eventually, like there's gonna be like one or two combustible engine cars on the lot because they don't make them anymore. And then eventually, it's just not gonna be any. Like when you go to the fucking car lot to pick out a car and you can't buy a combustible car, you're making your choice is made for you of that sort. You're making the right choice on accident. You're getting the paper bamboo straw on accident. Like it's
Oh
already
my God.
happening. It's happening in your country. Your country. You go to a store right now, you can buy some combustible engine cars. A good majority of them are electric though. And eventually it's going to be no longer the case that you can go into a store, a car lot in Canada and buy a combustible engine. That will be true here soon.
Okay. I don't even know how we came from corporations down to this again.
You keep saying these very specific things that are to me like make no sense. Like you're suggesting
I
that
okay.
because like we can't like I'm saying that we're improving cars and that's one method as a solution to lower our carbon footprint to give us more time to solve other problems going forward, and that's pretty simple to understand. Like if we have 20 years at our current rate and then we do a thing that reduces what we're currently going at, like if we do a thing and we were going 80 miles per hour and now we're going 70 miles per hour, that 10-year time frame or 20-year time frame is now like 25 years by default. Like just math can see that. Like you should be able to see that, right? You should be able to see that. We have and can impact where that where that is to the point where we already are. I just like it's weird that you see a video like this that showcases all these environmental negatives in the very beginning and showcases them to be true and then showcases how we will still be here in 2090 and then suggest things based on like pretty sound science. I mean, like seriously, look at the comments of this video. It has all the questions you've been asking. Deforestation explained. Hours of work in U.S. history. We're getting off the ladder. There's this one's a really good one. How we're gonna evolve time wise and how we're gonna work. How the work week's gonna reduce. Like read it seriously. Go read these. I went and read all these. These are very interesting articles. Time
I
left
love
till the
it.
end of the rainforest. There's another one. That's a
Oh,
really fun one.
which one?
Time left until the end of the rainforest.
Uh,
Vacuum trains, a high-speed pipe dream. I mean,
yeah,
these are
yeah.
other shit. Still reading.
Yeah, the likelihood of that is going to be high. Anyways, it doesn't even matter.
Why doesn't it matter to you?
What is a high-speed train across the planet going to do?
It's going to reduce our requirement for the logistics of moving things from one place to the other. We have to move things because we have resources non-evenly distributed over our planet to the point where we have to go here to get a resource that we need to somehow get over here. It might be like a metal that eventually will be in the device that I have in front of me. Um, that's logistics. That's how do we move? And
Oh,
the better methods we have to move things, the less impact we have on not only our environment, uh, but the time it requires to do so. So, like if we do things faster and come up with solutions faster, it actually creates more products within the scenario because there's individuals that are not wasting time waiting for those products to get there. They can build, do more, have more things to do, and we are creating that. It's already happening. I don't like you. Just don't you say you don't care about like I'm wondering what you don't care about specifically. You don't care that the future could be better, or you don't care about looking at the future as something it could be. Instead, like I feel like your mind has it set up in your head that like the world's just gonna suck in the future. Like
the
it's
thing
just
is, if look, with the difference between us is I'm seeing the world for it now, whereas you're seeing the world for what it could be. And that's the difference between us in reality. I'm in the
what do
moment.
you do with it? What do you do with that information? If we look at it through your perspective, you see it as the world now. If you see it as this specifically detoxed, like horrible thing, does that like change your mind towards like any kind of solutions towards what you want to? If you don't think there's any kind of achievable way to have a better life in the future, are you just checked out in your mind, or are you still trying to like have an impact in making it better for not only yourself but others? Like, I don't understand your point of view because like if you thought about just this moment and thought this was a bad thing, then how could you improve?
Hmm.
If I,
Go ahead.
I,
Hurry up.
I don't know. This is just interesting because I find it extremely more useful and beneficial to think we can solve our problems than know for some arbitrary reason that we can't. And that's how I feel like you feel. I feel like you know without any real good justification, reasonable solution that the world is like fucked up and like never gonna be fixed. And I don't think that's the case. And since I don't think that is the case, I'm actually gonna try to change it. Are you?
I'm always willing to change the world. I'm
You
just
can't
saying
change
that
the statement.
humans will probably never choose the option that is least beneficial for them and will always choose what's beneficial for them at the cost of everything else.
And I think that that might be true, but that individuals would be convinced that a solution for themselves that's beneficial for themselves would be better achieved if it's included in a solution that's better for everyone as well. And I think we're already solving those problems. That's why it's easier. Like we're figuring this out. We're figuring out now that the true method of being like ideally selfish is making sure that like your environment around you is fully supported. That others like if I take care of you and I'm sick, you're gonna take care of me more often. More likely you would. If I didn't take care of you and I get sick, I'm fucking boned. Like the true selfishness is making sure that myself is protected in the future by the individuals that can keep me safe and secure when I can't keep myself safe and secure. Like that's what we're learning. We're smart individuals and we're figuring that stuff out and we're living longer
Okay,
lives to be able to get to that point of realization.
one sec. So, why wasn't this something that was taught a long time ago? If you're telling me that humans need to be taught this now, it means it's failed.
I just explained that. I just explained that. We're living longer to be able to come to that realization
But
because
Volden,
think about it, think about it, think about it, think about it. If I'm selfish and I only do what's for me and blah blah blah, and now I'm the king of the castle and I have all this stuff, and eventually I just like eventually I'm just gonna be overturned or die or like get sick, and if no one actually fucking cares about me because they just want my stuff, they're just gonna let me die. but then they die. So these people don't learn the lesson because we don't live long enough to do so. We do now. We learn not only that, but we have history where we didn't before. We can actually know things and learn from the mistakes of the past in ways that we really didn't before. Like we knew about like localized like the king and like the previous king and like if the king was a bad king maybe and very specific things, but we didn't learn like we did now. We didn't have the ability to actually go like, "Oh, if I do that, like look what happened to that guy. He was pretty selfish and he fucked it up. Look they beheaded him. I don't want to do that. I'm and then we come up with solutions that be more selfish, still equally selfish, but less negatively impactful on others because it's more beneficial for us to benefit others. We are learning that now through security and safety. Like it wasn't until this point in history in which we could actually achieve that. And then with the connection and ability to explain it, it's just like exploding in droves. In droves.
Yet again,
Like
I
think
feel
about
like
it.
you're giving
Like what
humanity too
are
much
you taught to
credit.
go into a store and like want some gum and then since you want it, just take it? You know, you're not taught that. That's would work. That would be extremely selfish and you would get your what you want immediately. But you're not taught that anymore. You're taught you got to earn it. You got to, you know, you got to make some money and then take it. And if you take it, you're also taught you're going to get in trouble. Like we're accidentally becoming better people on accident through the requirements of socially like conforming to each other, and we're getting better at understanding what those requirements are. For example, we weren't really good at this for individuals that didn't like fit the mold exactly. Gay individuals and minorities, they weren't socially allowed within the system for a very long time, and then we learned that that's not beneficial for them, and then that could hurt us because of it. And it makes way more sense to just be more inclusive, to let people be people. Like we're learning this. It's not rocket science, but we didn't believe it for a long time. We thought like the exclusion was like borders might be a better solution. For a long
Yeah.
time, we thought borders were a better solution as a species, and we don't think that anymore. If you ask anyone, they would say that collaboration is better than competition.
Huh. Well, we have gone on for 42 minutes. I believe this episode will have to end for today.
And like we didn't even like get to it.
I know we can definitely do a part two if necessary. The reason why I also have to cut it a little short is because I have to do my stuff right now. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so we really went on for a while. That's why it's really hilarious that
I told you I fucking talk. You invited me on, and you didn't think it was a thing, but
I am perfectly fine with it. So guys, we will be ending this episode of Ripping on 2000, what was it, 2090. And if
2090.
anything, we will come back for a second episode later on with my dear friend here, Volden, and we will continue this debate. So we will see you guys on the next episode.
Love y'all.